Kia ora and welcome to the Itinerary. In today's episode, we will focus on tourism marketing, the collective name given to the various strategies and promotion that sell a destination or tourism product. Here in Aotearoa, Tourism New Zealand is the organisation responsible for marketing our beautiful country to the world as a tourist destination. Over the past 20 years, their 100% pure New Zealand marketing campaign has become a household name and is one of the most well-known and well-respected world tourism brands. Here to talk to me all about this crucial work in the tourism industry is the Director of Marketing at Tourism New Zealand, Brodie Reid. Kia ora, Brodie, thank you so much for joining me. Let's start with an explanation of why is it that we need to promote New Zealand as a destination. I mean, surely we have this fabulous reputation worldwide and everybody should know about us, or do they? Tell me, why is it that we need to further promote New Zealand?
Yeah, so you're right in thinking that, you know, lots of people do know about New Zealand and what we have to offer. But even before COVID, we were only 0.3% of the total international visitor, outbound market. So we are a very, very small player in a very, very big pool. But it is really important that we think about how we can leverage and promote New Zealand off the back of the really positive sentiment that's out there for New Zealand at the moment.
Now, can you tell us about your strategy when it comes to promoting New Zealand? For example, your recent Good Morning World campaign. There's a specific audience, I guess, that you guys must be targeting. You've won all sorts of awards, so congratulations on that. But could you talk to us about some of those targeted campaigns and why it is that you go in that direction, and the insights into how it is your team thinks?
So I think with all of our marketing campaigns, we kind of think global but act local in a way. So you referenced Good Morning World. That was a global campaign. But then we took specific market nuances and market insights to then make that relevant for a local audience. So you can imagine a country like Japan, we know they're really interested in stargazing and food and wine, for instance. So we take certain portions of that global campaign and we push it into certain markets for certain audiences. So we base all of our decision making on insight, that's driven about our audience, putting the consumer at the heart of everything we do. And then we create content and a narrative to talk to that audience. So you'll almost see a big global narrative. That's why we have the 100% Pure New Zealand overarching creative platform. And then we specifically go down into targeted insight by market to then tailor that content and that narrative by market.
So what are New Zealand's key markets?
Well, at the moment, domestic, New Zealand, very important market. And then when we're thinking outside of these strange kind of COVID times, Australia, China and North America make up the bulk of our core market. So around about 60% of our inbound international tourism, when you put those three together, put domestic on top of that, you go up to sort of 80-85%. And then we've got a range of markets which we target outside of that. So the likes of UK, Germany, Japan, and then Southeast Asia. And we're always looking for new opportunities, new markets to go into. So as this, I guess, situation evolves, it'll be a little bit opportunistic in terms of, those safe zones and travel bubbles and how that opens up. But the bulk of our core markets sit within New Zealand, Australia, China and North America.
How important is our Maori culture for promoting New Zealand to the world? And I know we speak about things at the moment in a global sense, but I want to say, how important is it even to promote our Maori culture to ourselves domestically?
Hugely important from my perspective. I've got this little acronym called DIRT. So you have to think about how are you going to be distinctive, the D, how are you going to be interesting, how are you going to be relevant to your audience, but what's true. So it has to be true. You can't promote something that they then come and experience and they get let down. So when you're thinking about that, what makes us distinct and interesting? Well, Maori culture, and I'd say more broadly our New Zealand culture, really makes us quite unique and distinctive. So how we can lean into that is really important, both internationally and domestically as well. And I think a lot of Kiwis are rediscovering that culture at the moment. We've got some really kind of core foundational values which we base all of our story on, 100% pure New Zealand story, like manaakitanga and tiaki and whānau. They're kind of our three core principal values. So diving back into that, those foundational Maori principles and values is really important to us.
How does Tourism New Zealand work with local businesses or regional tourism operators when it comes to marketing New Zealand?
The local operators and the RTOs are so important to what we do, right? So we can't promote what we don't know. We can't, we can't uncover, new experiences without the help of those people. So it's really, really important that they share their stories with us, new products, new experiences, what they're doing. And we have a really, really good relationship with all of the RTOs and as many operators as we possibly can to make sure they feature in all of our work and all of our content. So it's about, making sure that they're really connected to us and what our strategy is and what we're doing, so that we can then tell their stories on their behalf. We know what our audience wants. We then talk to the RTOs and local operators about what we have to offer, and we marry those two things together. So, without the operators and the RTOs, there would be nothing for us to promote, right?
You obviously work very closely with very highly recognised brands, our biggest tourism brands. How can our smaller operators stand out in a global sense? Can they partner with Tourism New Zealand, and do you encourage that?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, there's different audience needs across international and domestic. So for our domestic audience, this is a really important time to uncover some of those maybe unknowns, hidden gems, things that that Kiwis don't know about. So in our domestic campaign, Do Something New New Zealand, we're trying to just cover the depth and breadth of New Zealand, all the tourism experiences we possibly can, to bring those to life for Kiwis. From an international perspective, you may have seen us, talking more about our big iconic experiences, Hobbiton and, the likes of Milford Sound, those sorts of things. So we try and look at what are the audience insights again, what's going to best align to what they want and what their needs are, and then how can we bring those stories to the fore for them. So there's heaps of ways that local operators can be part of what it is we're doing. So whether it's part of a campaign like Good Morning World, whether it's just bringing to life the social, whatever they're doing on their social channels, the more they share, the more we can take that on and share that. And just making sure that we are connected to them.
COVID-19 has forced all sorts of new changes, new direction. Your hand must have somehow been turned into a whole other route too with Tourism New Zealand. But now that we're looking almost exclusively at the domestic market, what are the main points of difference between making New Zealand a domestic audience versus what was previously probably predominantly an international service? How have you guys had to really pivot all of those areas that now means that we market and focus on predominantly domestic markets?
Yeah, there's a lot of differences between those two audiences, right? Like when you live in a country, you feel like you know everything about that country, you feel like it's really familiar to you what it has to offer, and you maybe feel like it's a little less exciting or exotic than going on an international holiday, right? So for us, it's about uncovering the insights that are going to drive that behaviour change that we want from the domestic audience versus the international audience. International audience sees New Zealand like this dream destination, the bucket list destination. And so from a domestic perspective, when we picked up that mandate back in May, we really had to get under the skin of New Zealanders and do a lot of research and talk to a lot of Kiwis about what it is or what it isn't that they love or don't love about the potential of a domestic holiday. And a lot of what we found out is Kiwis they have a bit of a routine to their holidays, go to the beach, go to the beach, and they're not as, adventurous in terms of trying new tourism experiences. Or they feel like, again, they know sort of everything there is to do about getting out and about in New Zealand. So for us, it was sort of like uncovering those insights and figuring out how we could motivate them to get out there and really experience New Zealand like an international visitor would. That's really our whole strategy behind the Do Something New New Zealand campaign.
Can you tell us and give us some insight into, once those borders do open, what are going to be the key selling points in terms of welcoming those international tourists back into New Zealand?
Yeah, and we're really excited about that as well, right? When the time is right, so when it's safe, we're really excited about those borders opening again. There's a big gap, between domestic spend and international spend, about a $15 billion gap. So we really need both. We need domestic tourism, but we also need international tourism for the regrowth of the economy. What we talk about is there is no economic recovery without a tourism recovery. But it's really important for us to sort of stay true to our values that were pre-COVID, during COVID and post-COVID when it comes to who we are and what we stand for as a destination. Again, if I talk a little bit about those values of manaakitanga and te aki and whānau, that's what the world needs more now than ever.
Absolutely.
This sense of welcoming, this sense of respect and empathy and inclusion, all of which we have in spades here in New Zealand. And so for us, it's about taking those values, taking what's great about New Zealand and New Zealanders, that connection to people and place, our amazing, landscapes, nature, and really lighting a fire under that, I guess. And one thing that we've seen through through some of the global insights and trends that we've been looking at is there's going to be what they are estimating around 25% less connectivity globally post-COVID. So 25% less planes flying around the world. So people are going to be really specific about the destinations they're choosing, especially for a long-haul holiday. So for New Zealand, that's a really, I think that's a really positive thing, because people want destinations that have shared values to them, that are going to give them a transformational experience, not just a kind of flop and drop, transactional holiday. They want to come somewhere and connect with the people, connect with the place. And we have that in absolute
We have it all
here.
Oh, we're so lucky in this place of ours, aren't
we?
Next on the panel, we will talk to a couple of tourism marketing and sales professionals who can give us a little bit more in terms of tips and tricks for small businesses. But before we move on, let's check out just one of the hundreds of videos for Tourism New Zealand's award-winning Good Morning World campaign.
Good morning, world, and welcome to day 366. It's a leap year, so it's a very special Good Morning World from us to you. Also, as it is our last day of saying Good Morning World for the year, we'd like to say a huge thank you for following along. It's been really cool getting to know you all, and we hope you enjoyed meeting us too. Down here in New Zealand, we like to welcome our visitors as whānau, or family. And although we can't welcome you down here at the moment, we can't wait to see you all soon. It sure has been a journey we'd love to do over and over again. But our time has come to say farewell. So from us to you, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and have a wonderful day wherever you are. Mā te wā, hope to see you all soon.
To do well in tourism, you need customers. To get customers, they need to know about you. To know about you, you need to market your product. And then to actually make the sales, you need to deliver a fantastic customer experience. In our next panel, we will take a look at how marketing and customer experience can transform your small business. With me today is Gina Palladini, Director of Marketing at Tomahawk, a digital marketing agency that specialises in tourism, and James Donald, the the co-founder of Yonder HQ, which assists tourism businesses with their customer service and sales through automated chatbots. Kia ora to you both. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Itinerary. Let's start it off. It's fantastic that we're able to tackle these questions today using the different areas of expertise that you both have in mind. I would like you to tell us, if you could pinpoint, what are the must-haves for SMEs in tourism? And Gina, we'll start with you and then we'll throw it over to James.
Okay, thanks. That's the perfect question. What do you need to start with? One of the things that tourism operators do is offer amazing experiences, but lots of times they don't slow down and really look at what's our unique selling point, what makes our business different from somebody else's. So if you start out with your great product, really define what your unique selling point is, define who your market is. You can't talk to everyone, because if you try to please everybody, you please nobody. So who do you want to talk with? And then remembering your website is your storefront to the world. So making sure that that website really portrays what you offer, your unique selling point. And we're in tourism. Tourism is an emotional purchase, right? And so you really want to make sure you have phenomenal high resolution images, even better if you can have video. So unique selling point, know who you're talking to, have a fantastic website that's emotive, and then please Google, and you're away.
So I can't agree more with what Gina just mentioned. What I'd also add in there, though, is just being awesome at every single customer touch point, because it's a cycle. All those customers going through your experience, your product, they're going to tell their friends. So you want to be sort of maximizing the voice of every single customer coming through. So that means listening to them at every single touch point, listen to them on their website. And that's where website chat is amazing, because it actually helps you work out what people want on your website, because maybe only 2% of people are booking. So what's happening to the other 98%? So it just gives you more information to actually work out. And especially when you're new, all that information is so valuable to help make decisions. Otherwise, you're just going by gut. And so you'll be wanting to iterate and learn and make things happen really quickly. And then after the experience, ask them, try and learn about what they loved and where you can actually improve, so you can get that cycle going. And those customers who really loved what you improve, ask them to review on Google and to really get those Google ratings going up sky high quite quickly, because it's such an influential role in people making decisions. And there's great tools out there, and actually we're launching a new tool as well just for tourism businesses to help do that, because we've seen it's such a strong need.
Let's talk about the timeline. How does that look in a timeline? And can you perhaps give our audience an idea of a 5-year plan? What does a 5-year plan look like when a business first go into launch? James, I'll come to you first this time.
5 years, you got to get to 5 years, you've got to get past the first year, the first 90 days. So I'm actually going to say that you need to be ball rolling on all of these things. But of course, you may not have the biggest budget in the world, so you just have to be quite smart and clever in where you're putting that money, and experiment. And Gina mentioned before actually being laser focused on who your customer is, because that actually means that your budget can go further. And then listen to your customers. It's actually a really cost-effective way to building your business to help that cycle work. 50% of customers coming to most tourism businesses have actually come from word of mouth, from recommendations from friends. So it's a really important way of attracting new customers. You've got to do all of that from day one and put in processes to help you do it efficiently.
I would totally agree. You know, BC, before coronavirus, we would look at 5-year plans and, you know, what it looks like. But unfortunately, planning for 5 years right now might not be the best strategy, just because all of our lives have changed. So what we usually say is that if you're a new business, if you can last those first 3 years in tourism, you're on your way, right? It means that you've lined up your marketing. It means you have a product they want. It means you've listened to your customers to feedback what they want, not just what you want. So once you've listened for those 3 years, hopefully at 3 years you've got the bank account in a place where you can then really start investing in your marketing. 20% of your revenue should go to marketing, right? So many, in tourism, we're really used to paying OTAs, online travel agents. Booking.com or Airbnb were like, yeah, or inbound agents. We're used to paying them 15, 20, 25% commission. But what we need to look at is you can also spend that much or less and really drive those direct bookings. So after year 3, hopefully you've got everything moving. That's when you start doing, you make sure you really got a solid marketing plan.
Some people may not realize that marketing it goes far beyond just an advert or the social media platform and presence these days. So what would you say are the key marketing tools, techniques, resources that businesses should incorporate and should put into their operation?
So if we remember that there's 5 stages in travel. So the first stage of travel is social media, because that's the dream stage, right? So they don't even know about your business. They don't know about coming to New Zealand or what you offer. So you want to inspire that dream. You do that by stopping the scroll. So you use social media. So that's when you get into Zuckerberg's tools. You use Facebook, you used Instagram. Second stage of travel is research. So that's when you really have to make sure you're doing search engine optimization. Let's look at free tools. Google My Business is a free tool to help with search engine optimization. It helps for you to listen, just like the Chatbots. And so third stage is booking. So you have to have a booking engine. That's not free. You're usually going to have to pay for that. And then you're onto your experience stage, and then it's the sharing. And that's when chatbot, social media, and all that comes in. When you're doing social media, free tools, Canva, great tool for creating social media posts. Plotograph. I think there's so many. We could keep going. My favorite one is Google My Business.
Yes. What would you say are particular campaigns that you would recommend SMEs should be investing in and that they would benefit from running?
So again, you're going to look at the different stages that they're in, that user customer journey that James was talking about. So social media campaigns really, really work when you understand your unique selling point, when you've created something really emotional and delicious for them to capture. So social media campaigns, Instagram or Facebook, or if you're going after a younger audience, you have other tools, you've got TikTok. And Google is the one where they're in the planning stage and intentional marketing. So yes, social media, Google Ads, you can be doing EDMs, which are newsletters, free tools, MailChimp, absolutely perfect. There's remarketing, and we could go on and on. But those are the most common ones that you can, when done right, really ensure you have a result. Get those bookings.
And James, Yonder HQ is a prime example of taking advantage of our ever-changing technology. I wonder if you could give us a bit of a backstory into how you and your partner, how did you even know about chatbots, and how did you know that chatbots would be such a successful tool for sales and this fantastic customer experience?
Yeah, good question, because I never expected myself to get into chatbots as well. We purely got into it because we saw the ever-changing customer demands. And we actually did some analysis recently of what's changed in the last 10 years in technology and customer behavior. Because would you believe, like, the iPhone's a bit over 10 years old now. And look at how consumer behavior has changed in the meantime. And not just in tourism, but just consumer experience everywhere. We've got Netflix, Uber, you name it, of these on-demand services. And that's really molded customer expectations. And then we looked at tourism businesses who didn't typically have full-time customer service staff, or but yet the booking systems and travelers are planning and booking at all hours of the day, and especially with international markets, even more so. Actually, some analysis we did is inquiries are coming through to tourism businesses. At least 40% of them are outside of standard office hours. So we just saw this big gap between what customers wanted and the sort of infrastructure that tourism businesses had to be able to service that customer need. And with booking lead times getting shorter and shorter, it got to the point that if you're not actually helping customers immediately, they've got so many other choices that they'll either get distracted or find something or stumble upon something else if they don't get what they need immediately. And we thought, actually, a chatbot kind of solves that problem, because the inquiries coming to these businesses are so similar. And that's also why we stayed in tourism, because we could see that we could help all these very similar businesses and build a sort of conversation framework which drives this artificially intelligent chatbot to sort of work its magic. So that's how we came into it. And then we've gone further because just by being in that forefront of listening to customers, trying to understand actually how can we help businesses further to help their customers and turn more of them into bookings.
How is technology changing the way we do business? Is it of ultimate importance that they keep up to date?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, technology enables you, like one individual, to just do so much more. And it's really around efficiency and competitiveness. So efficiency because this technology can be working for you at any time of day. Like just look at an online booking system. People can now book whenever they want. I was talking to a tourism operator who had just implemented a new online booking system, and he just loved coming in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there were all these paid bookings there, just all generated while he was sleeping. So that's just one example of how technology can just enable that operational efficiency, which means you can do more with less. And COVID is sort of, especially in tourism, forced tourism businesses to really relook at their how they work, and they really need technology because it's so cost effective to sort of strip out the trivial things that people do on a day-to-day basis and leave people to do the more value-adding things. And then from a competitiveness, just being awesome with technology, it gives you insights to actually be better and make better decisions. I was talking to a holiday park recently who was getting some complaints from customers about the Wi-Fi, but she couldn't judge whether it was just one loud customer or lots of customers. But she had all the data there, and we just had to help her with some analysis to actually make an informed decision before making a big investment in Wi-Fi. So without technology, it would have just been guesswork.
With our business owners that are watching, part of our audience, are there any inspirational examples that you have from small businesses that you've worked with in terms of the great marketing or sales strategies that they've used that really gave them that extra customer service experience that perhaps our business owners who are watching could learn from?
So a couple of good examples that are probably quite timely. So quite a big inbounder who has been hit really hard, right? Nobody coming into the country, so they had to look at something new to do. So they reimagined their business, and this inbounder created a month of Sundays. And a month of Sundays is this really fun new brand, and they're smashing social media. Right? So they've created something new that really works with the Kiwi audience and has a lot of personality, and everything they're doing is through social media, so look up Month of Sundays. Another really great small operator down in Picton, they're called Eco Tours, and they bring people out to see wildlife. And they have a girl that's helping them with social media, and her use of Instagram stories has absolutely helped to skyrocket their bookings. So super cool. Yeah. And then another operator decided to use new technology. They were doing wine tours in Hawke's Bay and really depended on the cruise ship industry. As we know, they're not here anymore. And so they decided to use Amazon's brand new tool. So Amazon's the new disruptor in our industry, and they're offering virtual tours on Amazon. So they're offering virtual wine tastings, so anybody in the world could do a wine tasting with them.
Down in Queenstown, which has been pretty, which has had a large impact, ZipTrack actually sort of reimagined their product for the local audience, and they, so a ziplining company, they got bands. I think it was New Zealand Music Week, and they actually stationed all these bands along different platforms and just created a whole different layer to the experience of ziplining. And I think it was so successful. I think they're going to continue doing that. So they just really looked at their audience and also found something trending domestically, like the New Zealand Music Week, and it really worked for them. And I actually spoke to a couple of tourism operators who'd said that COVID has actually sort of accelerated for them a place that they knew they needed to get to, just made all that happen in a very compressed timeline.
That's all we have time for today. Don't forget to join us next week. I look forward to chatting to you all again, same time, same place. Haere rā.